The Tibetan Book of the Dead. Death is not seen as the end. Instead, it is viewed as a change in our continuous journey through life. This understanding comes from many years of knowledge shared by wise teachers who have looked closely at consciousness and what happens after physical death. Our life now is just one part of a never-ending story of experiences. Our bodies are like a temporary place to stay, similar to a guest house where we live for a short time before going to our next stop. This view changes how we think about death, reducing a lot of the fear and worry that usually comes with it in Western cultures. Death is closely linked to the idea of impermanence. Everything around us is always changing, including our thoughts, feelings, and bodies. Death is just another way this universal truth shows itself. When we really understand this idea, we start to view death not as something frightening, but as a normal step in our ongoing journey. Samsara is the cycle of life that involves birth, death, and rebirth. Beings go through this cycle until they reach enlightenment. This cycle is influenced by karma, which is the principle that every action has a result. The things we do in this life leave marks that affect our experiences during death and in future lives. Preparing for death is seen as very important. This preparation involves not just practical arrangements, but also emphasizes mental and spiritual readiness. Meditating regularly, thinking about how things change, and learning about death and dying are important parts of getting ready for this. Our way of living affects our experience of dying. Living with awareness, kindness, and understanding helps ensure a peaceful death and a smooth journey through the Bardos. This idea affects how we live every day, motivating us to be purposeful and aware in our actions. The process of dying is seen as a gradual breakdown of body and mind, happening in a particular order. Knowing this sequence helps caregivers see the signs of impending death and handle the situation with understanding. This information is not just for theory. It is a helpful guide for the person who is dying and for those who are helping them. When a person dies, the usual way of thinking can break down, showing what the mind is really like and possibly leading to freedom. This understanding changes death from just a physical event into a meaningful spiritual chance. Lesson 1. The time of losing the ego, Chikai Bardo. The Chikai Bardo is the key moment in dying when the ego breaks down and pure consciousness appears. This special state happens right at the moment of death, when regular awareness disappears and the true nature of the mind shows itself clearly. At this time, the person who is dying sees something called the clear light, which is a very bright and deep expression of reality. The clear light is a bright glow that goes beyond what we usually see. It is not really bright or dark like we usually think, but a clear state that is hard to describe with words. This experience shows up as the brightness of the ground, representing the fundamental nature of consciousness, without any added concepts or personal identity ideas. This moment gives a great chance for freedom from the cycle of birth and death for those who are ready. Understanding this basic awareness relies completely on how well one prepares spiritually throughout life. People who practice meditation and develop awareness might see this state as their true self and connect with it, finding instant freedom. For most people, this state comes and goes quickly, too fast and too deep to notice or hold on to. In the Chikai Bardo, all usual thinking stops. The self we know, our identity made up of memories, habits, and likes, disappears entirely. This disappears entirely. This dissolution can be frightening for those who are not ready, as it means letting go of everything we think of as me. However, this very process shows what has always been there beneath the layers of our ego: pure, unaltered awareness. The experience happens in steps that become more refined. At first, outside sensations start to disappear. The person who is dying becomes less aware of what is happening around them, and then they start to lose feelings from within their body. Then, emotional and mental activities slowly stop, leaving just the basic level of awareness. This process is similar to how the elements earth, water, fire, air, and space break down, each with its own unique signs and experiences. It's important for the person who is dying to have support during this time. A qualified teacher or spiritual friend who gives verbal instructions can help keep awareness during the transition. These instructions are straightforward and focus on showing the nature of the mind directly. The guide tells the dying person to stay calm and aware, steering clear of getting too attached to the world they are leaving, and not to fear what comes next. The Chikai Bardo shows clear visual and sound experiences. Many people say they see bright lights, vivid colors, and hear deep sounds. These manifestations are not things outside of us. They are ways that our consciousness shows itself as it moves beyond its usual boundaries. Seeing these experiences as normal parts of dying helps avoid confusion or getting too attached to them. Traditional texts highlight that success in recognizing and staying aware during the Chikai Bardo relies on 3 key factors: the quality of spiritual practice throughout life, the strength of the teacher, student relationship, and the clarity of mind at the time of death. Tibetan Buddhism focuses on getting ready for death by practicing daily and staying aware in everything we do. The time of losing the ego offers both a big chance and a big challenge on the path of death. It is the time when reality and personal awareness come together directly, showing the true nature of the mind clearly. This experience is the basis for all the following Bardo states and affects the quality of consciousness that will move through them. Lesson 2. The time of death moments. Death is not something that happens all at once. It is a slow process that happens in stages as awareness gets ready to leave the body. In Tibetan Buddhism, this important change is seen as a sequence of 8 stages. Each stage has its own physical and mental experiences that indicate the nearing end of life. The initial signs usually show up through our physical senses. A person who is dying starts to lose their senses. Their vision gets blurry, sounds seem far away or unclear, and they gradually lose the ability to smell, taste, and feel touch. This is the start of the outer breakdown, where the parts that make up our physical body begin to disintegrate in a certain order. The earth element breaks down first, making the body feel heavy and weak. The person might feel like they are being pulled down into the ground or weighed down by something heavy. As the water element goes away, bodily fluids start to dry out. The mouth gets dry, the eyes lose their shine, and there is often a feeling of floating or sinking. The fire element breaks down, causing the body to lose heat, starting from the hands and feet and moving towards the heart. When the air element disappears, breathing becomes difficult and uneven. When someone is dying, they may have inner visions that match what is happening to them physically. These look like mirages, smoke, sparks, and flickering flame. Each vision is linked to the dissolving elements and acts as a sign for those helping the dying person during this change. These visions are not just illusions. They show how consciousness slowly separates from its physical connections. As the basic elements break down, more refined levels of awareness start to appear. A person who is dying might have clear moments followed by times of confusion. Memories from this life can come back strongly, and it might feel like time is moving in a different way. This is when the inner dissolution starts, characterized by 3 clear experiences: appearance, increase, and attainment. The appearance stage looks like a white light, similar to moonlight on a clear night. The increase stage shows a red view, like the light of a sunset spreading across the horizon. The attainment stage looks like a deep darkness, similar to a sky without any light. These experiences show the gradual changes in awareness as one approaches the final moments of life. The most significant moment happens when breathing stops, but this doesn't mean the death process is over yet. Consciousness goes on through even finer states, leading to what is called the clear light of death. This final stage shows the basic level of awareness, without regular thinking or seeing things in opposites. If you know about meditation and understand these stages, this process gives you a special chance to be free. The clear light of death is the same as the nature of the mind, and understanding this can lead to enlightenment. Even if you haven't had training, knowing these stages can help clear up fear and confusion during the transition. People who are with someone who is dying should stay calm and supportive, speaking softly and clearly when needed. The surroundings should be calm and quiet, without strong emotions or distractions that could take the focus away from the important process for the person who is dying. You can say traditional prayers or mantras, but let these stages happen naturally without trying to change them. Death marks a point where different states of being meet, a time when the usual limits of awareness fade away and more profound truths can be reached. Learning about this process allows both the person who is dying and their companions to see death, not as an end, but as a change, full of opportunities for spiritual growth and a calm journey. Lesson 3. Finding your way through the middle ground. In the journey through death and change, understand what happens to consciousness after the body breaks down. Bardo is the in-between state where awareness exists without a physical body. It still has its basic thinking skills and carries the effects of past actions. In this state, consciousness feels very clear and wide, which can be freeing but also a bit too much to handle. When there are no limits from the body and brain, awareness becomes very clear and open. This increased awareness helps you see reality directly in ways that were hidden by physical life before. Colors look brighter, sounds are clearer, and thoughts come to mind quickly and clearly. The true nature of the mind shows itself clearly during this change. Without the usual filters and limitations of physical life, consciousness can see its true nature, bright, aware, and fundamentally pure. This recognition offers a great chance for freedom, especially for those who have practiced meditation and spirituality throughout their lives. To navigate the in-between state, grasp some key principles. First, consciousness stays continuous even when the physical body breaks down. The flow of awareness that makes up a person's identity continues on, bringing along all the experiences and habits they've gathered over time. The karmic seeds affect the experiences faced during this time. influencing how things are seen and guiding the path through the Bardo. The in-between state works under different rules than the physical world. Time flows in a way that isn't straight, and space doesn't have its usual limits. Your thoughts quickly turn into experiences, and your feelings shape the environment around you right away. Stay aware and balanced during this time when mental activity is happening right away. Opportunities for freedom come up during this journey, showing up as bright doorways or moments of clear understanding. People can notice and make use of these opportunities if they have learned about their mind's true nature through meditation. The important part is to stay aware and recognize things without getting carried away by strong habits and appearances from the past. The awareness in this state has a great ability to grasp teachings and see the truth clearly. This improved openness allows guides or spiritual teachers to share important instructions that can assist in navigating this change. These teachings usually come as sound, light, or a direct understanding, instead of regular spoken words. People who are ready for this change know how important it is to stay calm and focused. Trying to hold on to good experiences or avoid difficult ones can cloud our awareness and make it harder to see chances for freedom. Having an open awareness helps you see the true nature of your mind directly. Getting around this state needs a careful mix of being involved and letting things happen naturally. Trying too hard to control your experiences can lead to confusion and resistance, while doing nothing at all might leave you feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges. The middle way means being aware and accepting whatever happens with kindness. Knowing about the in-between state is important for both the person who is dying and for those who want to help them during this time. This understanding helps you get ready for life and manage the journey effectively. The experiences in this state are not random. They follow patterns that can be understood and managed effectively. This phase makes the connection between consciousness and reality very clear. How we perceive things and what we experience are closely linked, demonstrating that our thoughts shape the realities we encounter. This understanding is important not just for what happens after death, but also for how we can live more aware and meaningful lives. Lesson 4. The Time of Hallucinations, shown in Bardo. When consciousness goes through the process of dying, it enters a special stage called the Chonid Bardo, where the mind sees many bright and clear images and experiences. This phase usually starts after the early stages of death, when the clear light experience of the Chikai Bardo has gone unnoticed. During this time, consciousness meets different forms of peaceful deities, which are reflections of one's own mind instead of outside beings. The calm deities show up in a certain order, with each one symbolizing different parts of wise understanding. These appearances start with gentle, glowing lights and slowly become clearer and more defined. The first visions usually appear as bright light in different colors, and each color is linked to one of the 5 Buddha families. The blue light stands for mirror, like wisdom. The white light represents the wisdom of emptiness. The yellow light symbolizes the wisdom of equality. The red light shows discriminating wisdom, and the green light reflects all, accomplishing wisdom. These visions come from the deepest parts of our mind and show our past actions and their effects. If you have kept up with your spiritual practice throughout life, you can see these experiences as reflections of your mind, providing chances for freedom. For those who are not ready, these visions can lead to confusion or fear, making the mind pull back and lose the opportunity for understanding. The strength of the experiences varies during this phase. The calm gods come with sounds, lights, and vibrations. Every deity has unique traits and is associated with certain directions, accompanied by their followers. These manifestations happen in a specific order that shows the development of ancient knowledge. The skilled practitioner knows that these appearances, even though they seem real, are like dreams or reflections in a mirror, lacking true existence but still clearly visible. Karma plays an important role during this time. The things we do and the way we think shape how we see and respond to these ideas. People who practice positive actions and stay aware tend to find it easier to stay steady and understand what these appearances are like. On the other hand, people with negative karma may find these visions to be scary or too much to handle. To understand the Chonid Bardo, realize that everything we see, even if it looks real, comes from our own mind. This acknowledgement is important for getting through this stage. The text gives clear instructions for different types of vision, helping the mind stay aware and not get caught up in feelings of attraction or aversion. The hallucinations during this time act like a mirror, showing our core mental habits and spiritual insights. They offer a chance to see the real nature of the mind, its empty essence and bright clarity. Understanding this can bring freedom, changing the experience of death into a journey toward enlightenment. To get through the Chonid Bardo, stay aware without holding on to or pushing away what you see. The important thing is to relax in the natural state of your mind without chasing or pushing away the thoughts that come up. This method helps keep the mind focused and may help recognize these occurrences as signs of wisdom instead of just outside events. The time of hallucinations helps us learn about what reality really is. It shows how what we think affects how we feel and how knowing how our mind works can help us feel free. This stage of dying is both a challenge and a chance to learn. It shows us important ideas about change, emptiness, and the possibility of awakening in every moment of awareness. Lesson 5. The Bardo of experiencing reality. In the journey through the Bardos, we come across an important phase, the experience of reality. This Bardo shows a clear view of pure realms and basic wisdom, providing a great chance for freedom. In this phase, awareness meets reality in its most basic form, without the usual filters of perception. The experience starts with the 5 Buddha families showing up, and each one represents a different part of enlightened wisdom. These are not just symbols. They show the true nature of the mind. The Buddha family of Vairochana appears as pure white light, representing the wisdom of Dharmadhatu, the boundless space of all things. Akshobhya is seen as a deep blue light, symbolizing clear and reflective wisdom. Ratnasambhava appears as a golden yellow, showing the wisdom of equality. Amitabha shines with red light, demonstrating clear wisdom. Amagasiddhi appears as a green light, showing complete wisdom. These lights of wisdom are not something outside of us. They are the natural glow of our own awareness. Every light has unique qualities that connect with various parts of our awareness. Understanding that these lights are part of your own nature is important. They are connected to the mind that perceives them. This understanding shows the difference between being free and continuing to wander in samsara. The pure realms that appear during this bardo are parts of reality that most people can't normally see. These areas are places where awakening can happen, each linked to different parts of an enlightened mind. These realms are not physical places. They are states of awareness where the lines between what we see and who we are fade away. In these pure places, everything you see teaches you something. Every sound is a chant, and every thought holds wisdom. The experience of reality in this bardo is not just a concept or idea. It's direct and intense. Colors look brighter than any color on earth, sounds are clearer than any regular sound, and awareness feels broader than any usual state of mind. This increase in experience can be freeing and difficult. Keep recognition while avoiding distractions from the display. One important part of this bardo is the appearance of the 100 peaceful and wrathful deities. These are not outside gods, but symbols of different aspects of an enlightened mind. The calm deities show a clear state of awareness without confusion, while the fierce ones symbolize the strong ability of wisdom to break through misunderstanding. In this phase, there can be times when awareness feels completely clear, revealing the true nature of the mind. These moments provide chances for freedom if you can stay aware without reacting or judging. It's like when you suddenly see your reflection in a mirror. You know it's you right away. The lights that show up during this bardo are not just things you see. They have important lessons to share. The white light of Vairochana shows that everything is empty of inherent existence. The blue light of Akshobhya shows how the mind can reflect like a mirror. The yellow light of Ratnasambhava reveals that all experiences are fundamentally equal. The red light of Amitabha shows the clear nature of awareness. The green light of Amagasiddhi shows the natural achievement of enlightened actions. This bardo shows reality without the usual appearances, uncovering the true nature of existence. It's a situation where clear understanding and confusion are very different, where each moment can lead to freedom or more complications. To get through this phase, stay aware and let things happen on their own, without trying to hold on or push them away. Lesson 6. The Wrathful Visions. Second Bardo Nightmares. The intense images in the second bardo are one of the toughest but also most changing parts of the after-death experience. These manifestations look like scary gods, usually shown with many arms, fierce faces, and wearing jewelry made from human bones. These appearances are not meant to scare you. Instead, they aim to help you realize your true nature through strong emotional experiences. These angry gods come from the peaceful gods we saw before. The peaceful deities provide calm guidance, while the wrathful deities take a stronger stance on achieving freedom. Each angry deity represents a specific part of our own mind, seeming scary only because we don't see them as reflections of ourselves. In this phase, the mind might come across deities that drink blood, creatures with animal heads, and other frightening forms. These visions can cause a lot of fear and make you want to run away, but this response stops you from seeing what they really are. The main point to grasp is that these frightening appearances are simply expressions of the natural energy of our own minds. The traditional texts give clear steps for understanding these visions. When facing angry gods, you should not run away or give in to fear. Instead, one should see these beings as natural examples of wisdom energy. Each angry deity has certain traits that, when understood correctly, show important lessons about the mind and reality. During this phase, stay aware and keep your mind steady. The mind should these visions, like everything in the Bardo states, do not have their own existence. They are like dreams or reflections in a mirror, bright but lacking real substance. This understanding helps protect you from feeling overwhelmed by these experiences. Recognition means looking at these appearances with awareness and understanding. When facing a fierce deity, remember, this is just my mind's creation. These are the natural aspects of my own awareness. Realizing this can quickly change the scary image into a helpful force for freedom. The intense visions can also act as strong triggers for change. Their strong nature can jolt the mind into awareness, similar to how a loud noise can wake up someone who is sleeping. The energy that makes these visions scary also holds a possibility for quick freedom if we see it clearly. These visions usually appear in certain patterns and orders, relating to various parts of unclear perception that need to be clarified. Old texts talk about different groups of gods that come from specific directions. Each group is linked to various kinds of wisdom and the misunderstandings that go with them. Knowing what these angry forms represent can help you handle this stage better. The many arms show different parts of enlightened action. The animal heads stand for the change of various kinds of mental confusion, and the fierce faces represent the strength to overcome spiritual challenges. The length and strength of these experiences depend on a person's karma and how ready they are spiritually. People who have practiced and understand these teachings can move through this phase quickly or even see it as a chance for freedom. Some people may have longer experiences with these visions, so understand and prepare for them. The main goal of these intense visions is to be compassionate, helping people realize their true nature. When you understand them well, these scary experiences turn into strong chances for freedom, changing what might look like bad dreams into clear ways to find enlightenment. Lesson 7. Karmic Appearances. During the journey through the Bardo states, experiencing karmic appearances is one of the most important and changing parts of what happens after death. These appearances show the results of our past actions, forming a pattern of visions that can help us find freedom or lead us further into the cycle of life. When awareness meets these karmic events, they appear as clear and engaging scenes that feel just as real as any experience in life. These visions come from our past actions, thoughts, and intentions, growing into experiences that can be calm or frightening. To understand these appearances, see them as reflections of our own thoughts, similar to dreams or illusions. The karmic appearances usually start to show up after the peaceful and wrathful deities have come and gone. They come up as individual situations that show our main ways of thinking and feeling. A compassionate person may see themselves helping others or meeting kind beings, while a person filled with anger might encounter scary or hostile situations. These occurrences are not punishments or rewards. They are simply the natural result of cause and effect. In this phase, awareness can quickly change between various feelings and ways of seeing things. These changes can be confusing, but they provide valuable chances for understanding and freedom. By being aware that these appearances are not real, consciousness can prevent itself from getting carried away and can instead use them to gain understanding. The strength of these karmic visions often relates to our usual habits and emotional connections. Strong negative feelings such as hatred, greed, or jealousy can show up in very clear and difficult ways. These challenging visions hold the possibility for significant change. When seen as expressions of the mind, they can be broken down to their core nature, showing the wisdom they hold. Dealing with karmic appearances means finding a careful balance between recognizing them and not getting too attached. When there is too much resistance, it makes things seem stronger. On the other hand, giving in completely can make you feel overwhelmed by their power. The mind should learn to stay aware without clinging to nice things or pushing away the not so nice ones. The teachings highlight that all these karmic events, whether good or bad, do not have a true existence of their own. They are like images in a mirror, bright and clear, but not really real. This knowledge is essential for freedom during this time. When we understand the empty nature of things while staying clear-minded, the ability of these appearances to keep us stuck in samsara lessens. Know that these karmic appearances show how we relate to and interact with other people. We may see images of people we know, situations we've been in, or the outcomes of how we've treated others. These meetings allow us to settle unresolved feelings and let go of karmic ties that could pull us back into certain relationships or situations in future lives. How well you handle karmic situations relies a lot on the preparation you do while living. Meditating regularly, thinking about emptiness, and building awareness provide helpful reference points that can be used during this important time. The more we use our mind throughout life, the better we can understand and handle these experiences after death. By understanding and dealing with karmic situations, awareness can slowly progress beyond the limits of personal karma to reach broader states of understanding. This process takes time, bravery, and constant attention, but it can lead to significant change and freedom from the cycle of life and death. Lesson 8. The Time of Coming Back, Sidpa Bardo. The Sidpa Bardo is an important stage in the after-death experience, as it is the time when consciousness gets ready for its next life. At this stage, the consciousness of the deceased person goes through different experiences that will decide their next rebirth. This phase starts when the calm and intense images of the Chonid Bardo disappear, and the mind begins to move toward its next life influenced by past actions. During this phase, consciousness feels a strong sense of urgency and restlessness, along with powerful currents of karma that flow through awareness. The karmic winds can be confusing, leading to clear and sometimes scary experiences that feel very real. The mind can see images of possible future lives, views of potential parents, and different places of being. These visions come from the effects of past actions and the memories built up from earlier lives. In the Sidpa Bardo, consciousness is very clear and can move quickly, passing through walls and mountains and observing different possible birth scenarios. This increased awareness can be both helpful and difficult. It provides chances for freedom by understanding the true nature of the mind, but it can also bring strong experiences that may be too much for someone who isn't ready. The Sidpa Bardo offers a key chance to consciously select the conditions for rebirth. This choice is greatly affected by past actions and the spiritual growth reached in earlier lives. People who have a strong spiritual practice might see chances to choose good situations that help them grow spiritually. Some people may find themselves naturally attracted to certain situations because of their usual habits and unmet wants. During this time, the mind might see images of couples that could be future parents. The traditional texts give clear instructions on how to stay aware during these visions and not get attached to specific situations. The texts highlight how important it is to stay mindful and see these experiences as thoughts from the mind instead of actual reality. The Sidpa Bardo shows clear signs that can help identify which realm of existence a person may be attracted to. These signs show up as lights of various colors, different surroundings, and feelings. Knowing these signs can help awareness steer clear of less favorable rebirths and move towards better situations. The texts give clear instructions on how to recognize and respond to these signs correctly. If you want to find freedom, the Sidpa Bardo provides different ways to stop the cycle of rebirth. This involves thinking about how the mind works, staying aware that experiences can be misleading, and developing a sense of devotion to enlightened beings. The texts highlight that, even now, freedom can be achieved by understanding and applying the teachings correctly. Entering the next life happens when consciousness is pulled towards a certain situation because of liking or disliking it. At this stage, the effects of karma become very strong, and awareness loses its sharpness, focusing on the situation of being reborn. The texts explain this process clearly, showing how various mental states during this transition affect the quality of the next rebirth. Knowing about the Sidpa Bardo is important for dealing with what happens after death and for being more aware in our daily lives. The teachings highlight that getting ready for this change starts now by becoming aware, understanding how the mind works, and building good mental habits. These preparations greatly affect how a person goes through this important time and the quality of life that comes after. The teachings of the Sidpa Bardo show us that death is not the final stop, but change, and that how we think and understand during this time can greatly affect what happens to us next. This understanding allows us to face both life and death with more insight, readiness, and intention. Lesson 9. The World After Death. The world after death, according to Tibetan Buddhist teachings, is a changing place where consciousness keeps moving through different ways of seeing and experiencing things. This middle space is not fully apart from our earthly life and not completely joined with what comes next. It plays an important role in the cycle of death and rebirth. In this space, the recently deceased mind experiences many things that show both personal life patterns and common universal themes. The environment here doesn't follow physical laws. It works based on the ideas of mind and consciousness. Time and space can change based on our experiences. What feels like a long time might actually happen in just a few moments according to how we usually think about it. A key part of the after-death experience is meeting what seems to be loved ones who have passed away. These appearances may seem comforting, but they are seen as thoughts from the mind instead of real beings. They come from the thoughts and connections of the deceased, acting as guides and possible attachments that can affect the journey through the bardos. The scenery in this world changes based on the thoughts and actions of those who have passed away. People who kept positive actions and thoughts in their lives may find themselves in calm, bright places with gentle sounds and comforting feelings. On the other hand, People affected by negative actions may face tougher and more difficult situations. These experiences are not lasting punishments or rewards. They are chances for recognition and change. Getting around in the after-death world means knowing that it isn't what it seems. When we dream, everything feels very real, and the things we experience in that state seem entirely genuine to our awareness at the time. The main difference is being aware that they are just projections of the mind, not solid, independent things. During this time, awareness may experience different levels of existence at the same moment. The 6 traditional Buddhist realms include the God realms, demigod realms, demi-god realms, human realm, animal realm, hungry ghost realm, and hell realms, which can be seen as possible places to go. These are not actual places, but ways of feeling, each defined by specific experiences and thought patterns. The world after death has places that can be thought of as way stations, temporary spots where consciousness can take a break and collect itself before continuing on. These are not permanent homes, but rather brief moments of understanding or rest along the way. In these times, the deceased may get lessons or advice from what seem to be wise beings or teachers they knew before. Understand what illusions are in this area. What seems like things happening outside of us are really just expressions of our mind, much like how our current experiences are influenced by how we see things and our thought habits. The difference is in the stronger feelings and the absence of physical limits after death. This makes the challenges and opportunities more urgent and impactful. The world after death reflects the habits and patterns of the person's life. This reflection provides great chances for understanding and change, as long as one stays aware and doesn't get lost in what seems like solid reality. Every experience, whether good or bad, has the potential to free us when we understand its true nature. This place serves as a bridge where the results of what has happened before mix with the beginnings of what is to come. By knowing what it is and staying aware during this time, consciousness can handle these experiences well, possibly turning them into chances for spiritual growth instead of just seeing them as good or bad moments in life. Lesson 10. The process of rebirth. Rebirth is an important part of the journey after death, showing the move from a temporary state back to being alive again. This happens when freedom hasn't been reached in the earlier stages, and the mind needs to keep moving through the cycle of existence. The process of rebirth follows clear spiritual and energetic patterns that Tibetan teachings have described in great detail. In this phase, the consciousness feels strong pulls and pushes regarding possible future parents. These attractions are not just random. They are shaped by connections from past lives and the development of certain karmic seeds. The mind, holding on to memories from its past life and the karma it has gathered, starts to see different lights and signs that point to various places it could be reborn. These appearances show up as glowing doorways or portals, each one representing different options for future lives. Choosing parents isn't something we do on purpose. It's more of an automatic process influenced by our karmic connections. The mind is attracted to couples who share similar life patterns and experiences. This attraction often feels strong, like being carried away by a strong breeze. The teachings explain that consciousness may observe its future parents together, and based on its future gender, it will feel drawn to one parent and averse to the other. When entering the womb, consciousness goes through a series of clear experiences that reflect the process of dying, but in the opposite direction. Now, instead of elements dissolving from the earth into space, they are coming together from space to the earth. This process builds the gentle energy structure that the new physical body will grow on. The consciousness comes into the womb through the mother's crown chakra and attaches to the fertilized egg right at the moment of conception. The moment of conception is described as a sudden moment of clear understanding, somewhat like the bright light felt at death, but not as strong. This clear moment soon fades as the being starts to develop in a basic form. The consciousness goes through stages where it becomes more solid as it settles into its new physical form. To break the cycle of rebirth, you need to have a deep understanding and be well prepared before and during the process of dying. The teachings highlight that even while we are in the state of becoming, we can still affect our rebirth by staying aware and using certain practices. These involve keeping in mind our spiritual teachings, being aware of the deceptive nature of appearances, and developing a sense of devotion to enlightened beings. The teachings explain ways to prevent unfortunate rebirths. These involve staying aware during the change, understanding that appearances are reflections of the mind, and fostering positive goals. At this point, you can still focus your mind on better chances for rebirth or even reach freedom by using these methods. This process has several important uses. It offers a guide for practitioners on what to expect and how to handle this important change. For those helping others through death and rebirth, it provides understanding of what their loved ones might go through. It highlights the valuable chance of being human and the need to use this life to get ready for the changes that will come. The journey of consciousness through rebirth shows how all beings are connected, as we have all been mothers, fathers, children, and relatives to one another many times in our lives. This understanding leads to compassion and the desire to help everyone escape the cycle of rebirth. Lesson 11. Predictions of the Lotus Guru. Padmasambhava's prophecies, called the Lotus Guru, are an important part of Tibetan Buddhist teachings on death and what comes after. These prophecies were not just predictions. They included important spiritual guidance hidden in their symbols. Padmasambhava brought Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. He left behind teachings known as terma, or hidden treasures, meant to be found by future generations when the time was right for them to be revealed. These prophecies suggest that as the world goes through different ages, the ideas of death and rebirth will become more complicated. Padmasambhava talked about a time when people would lose touch with their spiritual side, which would make it harder to see the clear light when they die. He predicted a time when worries about material things would take over people's minds, making it harder to navigate the Bardo states. The Lotus Guru's predictions focused on the difficulties that practitioners would encounter in understanding the true nature of the mind when facing death. He explained that as the world gets more chaotic, the Bardos will show this turmoil, so it's important for practitioners to build stronger meditation practices while they are alive. The prophecies highlighted the need to notice the signs of death and stay aware during the process of dissolution. A key prophecy talked about the rise of tertons, or treasure revealers, who would find and explain these hidden teachings during important times in history. These people would adjust the old teachings to meet the unique spiritual needs of their time, while keeping the core ideas intact. The prophecies suggested that every generation would need slightly different ways to understand and practice the Bardo teachings. Padmasambhava predicted that guru yoga and devotional practices would become more important as we prepare for death. He explained that as the shared karma of people grew more complicated, the help and advice from experienced teachers would become more important for successfully going through the Bardos. These prophecies highlighted the importance of strong faith and clear understanding as key qualities for seeing the true nature of things in the after-death states. The Lotus Guru gave clear instructions for future practitioners, explaining ways to stay aware while sleeping to prepare for death. He said that dream yoga would be a key way to understand how life and death are not as real as they seem. These teachings included clear descriptions of signs and omens that would appear to practitioners prepared to learn more about the nature of mind. Padmasambhava spoke about the connection between our physical and subtle bodies in his prophecies. He predicted that future generations would find scientific insights that align with traditional Buddhist teachings on consciousness and its path through the Bardos. He explained how combining scientific and spiritual wisdom would connect ancient knowledge with modern understanding. The prophecies offer helpful advice for keeping up spiritual practices when facing difficult times and confusion. They describe certain mantras, visualizations, and meditation methods that can be especially helpful during tough times. These methods aim to assist practitioners in building the stability and clarity needed to stay aware during the death process and the following Bardos. In these teachings, Padmasambhava highlighted how important it is to pass down knowledge and maintain a lineage. He believed that true teachings would continue through a steady line of accomplished teachers, even in periods of significant spiritual downturn. The prophecies highlight the importance of learning these teachings from qualified teachers who keep the tradition pure and make it easy for modern practitioners to understand. These prophecies still help people today, providing both caution and optimism. They remind us that even though it can be harder to stay aware during death and the Bardos, the true nature of the mind doesn't change, and the chance for freedom is always there for every generation. The Lotus Guru's teachings connect old wisdom with today's learners, offering helpful advice for the journey through death and what comes after. Lesson 12, a story about dads and their kids. The passing of important knowledge from father to son and teacher to student is a key part of Tibetan Buddhist tradition. This lineage transmission creates a continuous link that goes back for centuries, keeping not only knowledge but also the core of enlightened understanding intact. In Tibetan Buddhism, this relationship goes beyond just biological ties. It includes the spiritual connection between a master and a disciple, representing the sharing of direct experiences and insights. The tale of Marpa, the translator, shows this deep link. Marpa, who was a father figure to Milarepa, Tibet's most cherished yogi, showed that spiritual parenthood can be even more important than biological connections. Marpa helped Milarepa change from a former murderer into one of Tibet's greatest spiritual teachers through tough challenges and lessons. This change shows how the relationship between a father and son works in Buddhist teaching. It cleanses karma and shares both clear lessons and deeper understandings. These teaching connections continue old ways of understanding death and the Bardos. Every generation learns not only the words and ideas, but also the first-hand experience of awareness shared from one enlightened person to another. This transmission covers techniques for understanding the mind, staying aware during the death process, and managing the states after death. The close relationship between a teacher and a student is ideal for sharing important lessons that can't be taught just through books. The lineage system keeps teachings up, to date and relevant while preserving their core essence. Every teacher adjusts the lesson to fit their student's needs while keeping the main idea of the instruction intact. This active connection lets the teachings grow naturally while staying true to their origins. The teachings of the Bardos have stayed important and useful throughout different times and cultures. Traditional stories highlight that this sharing of knowledge often needs significant effort from both the teacher and the student. Many stories describe students going on tough journeys, dealing with physical challenges, and confronting their biggest fears to gain this knowledge. The teachers show great patience, kindness, and skill in helping their students learn at different levels. These sacrifices help get the student's mind ready to understand and hold on to important teachings. The father-son transmission also includes special spoken instructions given only to those who have shown they are ready after years of preparation and practice. This teaching focuses on understanding the mind and staying aware during the Bardos. They show the knowledge gained from many years of experience by people who have successfully gone through the after-death states and found freedom. Today, this traditional relationship is still changing, but it keeps its main features. Modern teachers use old techniques to meet today's needs while keeping the essential learning intact. The father-son connection helps pass down important knowledge from the past to today, making sure these valuable lessons are easy to understand and useful for each new generation. This way of sharing information is important because the experience of death and the Bardos goes beyond different histories and cultures. The basic experience of being aware and how it changes during death stays the same, even though what we know and how we see it may change. The father-son relationship offers a reliable way to help each generation handle these common changes with understanding and ability. The special bond between spiritual fathers and sons helps share important insights about the Bardos, guiding those who want to learn about and get ready for death. This living transmission makes sure that every generation can access the ideas and practical ways to understand and handle the after-death states with awareness and purpose. Lesson 13. Gampodar Treasures. The Gampodar treasures are a mysterious and important collection of hidden teachings in Tibetan Buddhism. These important texts and practices were hidden by wise masters during difficult times, waiting to be found by special treasure seekers called tertons. The Gampodar collection is a set of teachings found in the caves and mountains of eastern Tibet. These teachings focus on important topics like death, dying, and liberation. Padmasambhava and his closest disciples hid these treasures in the 8th century CE, along with prophecies about when and who would find them. The texts are written in Dakini script, a special type of writing that only certain people can read, based on their spiritual connections and achievements. The Gampodar treasures are known for clearly explaining the stages between death and rebirth, providing straightforward instructions for practitioners at various levels of spiritual growth. The Gampodar collection has 3 main types of teachings. The first looks at mind and consciousness, showing how awareness changes through different states during and after death. The second category includes certain meditation practices and mantras meant to be used throughout life to get ready for the process of dying. The third category includes instructions and ceremonies that the living can do to help those who have just passed away. The Gampodar treasures are notable for highlighting the connection between sound and consciousness. This teaching shows how specific vibrations and frequencies can help guide awareness through the Bardos, serving as helpful signals during the confusing times after death. The texts explain certain sound patterns and sacred syllables that, when said correctly, can help calm the mind and guide it toward freedom. The methods used to preserve the Gampodar treasures were very advanced. The physical texts were covered in yellow silk, placed in clay containers, and usually safeguarded by strong protective substances. The teachings were written in several layers of meaning, making sure that only those who were properly prepared and guided could understand their deeper significance. This layered method of preservation has helped these teachings stay strong and relevant over the years. The Gampodar treasures are not only important for their history and culture, but they also include practical instructions that are still very useful for people today. They talk about common human experiences and feelings that come up during dying, providing clear solutions and helpful practices. These teachings recognize the fear, confusion, and attachment that can come with death, and offer ways to turn these challenges into chances for spiritual growth. The way we share and show these treasures follows clear rules set by tradition. A terton needs to get certain signs and prophetic dreams that show where and when the discovery will happen. Getting the retrieval done usually includes detailed ceremonies and needs witnesses to confirm the finding. After being revealed, the teachings need to be understood, explained, and slowly shared with suitable students through proper introductions and support. The Gampodar treasures highlight how important it is to keep the transmission lineage pure and intact. Every group of teachers needs to go through thorough training and understand the important lessons before they can successfully share them with others. This careful process of keeping and sharing practices makes sure they stay relevant and useful, instead of just becoming old relics or interesting ideas. Today, these treasures help practitioners navigate the challenges of death and dying, providing valuable insights that connect the past with the present. Their preservation and ongoing sharing show how wise early Buddhist masters were, and how their teachings still matter for our understanding and spiritual growth. Lesson 14. The Third Generation. The lessons from the Tibetan Book of the Dead have lasted for many years and are now very important in today's world. As we move into what can be seen as the third generation of sharing these teachings with the West, these ancient wisdom lessons are changing in interesting ways while still keeping their core truth. This change brings both a challenge and a chance to keep these important teachings for future generations. Today, these important teachings are understood by scholars, practitioners, and teachers who know both the old ways and what people need now. These interpreters connect complex ideas, making them easy to understand without losing their significance. They see that today's professionals encounter special challenges, living in busy societies, handling technological distractions, and finding their way in a world that often overlooks spiritual pursuits as unimportant. Today, the Bardo teachings are used in many ways that go beyond just death and dying. Many people now use these teachings to help them through life changes and personal growth. The understanding of consciousness states mentioned in the Bardo is similar to ideas in modern psychology, neuroscience, and therapy. This expansion of application doesn't lessen the teachings. Instead, it shows how relevant and adaptable they are for everyone. Keeping these teachings for future generations needs a careful mix of new ideas and old practices. Digital technologies provide new ways to share and keep these teachings. Virtual reality experiences are being created to assist practitioners in seeing and grasping the Bardo states. Online platforms link students and teachers from different places, forming worldwide communities for learning. These technological changes should be made carefully, making sure they improve the direct sharing of knowledge between teacher and student instead of taking its place. Changing for today doesn't mean making the teachings simpler or less religious. Instead, it means discovering new languages and frameworks that help make deep insights understandable for today's thinkers. This could involve using simple comparisons from quantum physics to describe consciousness, or linking meditation experiences to findings in brain research. The aim is to provide various ways to understand while keeping the tradition's depth and authenticity intact. A key part of modern adaptation is combining these teachings with what we know from science. Studies on near-death experiences, consciousness, and quantum mechanics often show interesting similarities with traditional Bardo descriptions. This blend of old knowledge and new science helps us better understand death, consciousness, and reality. The third generation of practitioners has special responsibilities. They should protect traditions while also being creative and addressing modern issues. This involves creating new ways to teach, making translations that connect with today's readers, and setting up organizations that can keep and share these teachings well. The future of these teachings relies on staying important and keeping their ability to change lives. This involves looking at today's psychological problems, environmental issues, and social challenges using the insights from these ancient teachings. This also means keeping the experience of the tradition alive, making sure that understanding it intellectually goes hand in hand with actually practicing and meditating. These teachings keep changing and show a strong ability to adjust and endure. Every generation builds on what came before, adding their own understanding while staying connected to the original ideas. This ongoing process of renewal and preservation keeps these important teachings about death, consciousness, and liberation alive and easy to reach for future generations looking for wisdom in a complex world. Lesson 15. Real-world uses. Preparing for death is not just an idea. It's something we need to practice and think about every day. The Tibetan tradition has many ways to help us apply its teachings in our daily lives, making it easier to navigate the Bardos when the time arrives. Meditation is the foundation of this practical preparation. Start by creating a regular daily routine for mindfulness meditation, using your breath to help you stay in the present moment. This technique is effective in building the mental stability needed to recognize and stay aware during the death process and the following Bardos. Once you feel at ease with basic meditation, start to add visualization practices that include peaceful deities and experiences of pure light. Dream yoga is an important way to get ready. When we stay aware while dreaming, we practice for similar experiences we will face in the Bardos. Begin by clearly deciding before you go to sleep that you want to remember your dreams and notice them as dreams while they happen. When you wake up, write down your dreams right away and think about what they mean as thoughts in your mind. This understanding is closely related to what people experience after death. Physical activities are very important too. The tradition includes breathing exercises that reflect the process of letting go that happens at death. These practices focus on the gentle energy pathways and flows inside the body. By practicing guided breathing, we can get to know the steps of letting go and learn to stay clear as our usual thoughts fade away. Thinking about how things change is an important practice. Notice the ongoing changes around you in your relationships, your thoughts, and how your body feels. Think about daily changes, like going to sleep, waking up, or moving to a new place, as reminders of the bigger change of death. Being aware of this reduces attachment and fear, making it easier to accept change as a normal part of life. Phawa, or conscious dying, is a straightforward way to prepare for death. Basic Phawa practice is about imagining consciousness exiting the body through the crown chakra, although more advanced forms need help from a qualified teacher. This visualization helps form good habits that can be triggered during the process of dying. Practicing Tonglen helps build compassion and prepares us emotionally. This means taking in the pain of others and releasing happiness and good feelings. This practice helps let go of self-attachment and builds good karma that affects our experiences in the Bardos. It also helps build the caring motivation needed for choosing a positive rebirth. Bringing these practices into your daily routine takes some creativity and dedication. Set up reminders in your environment, like bells or certain places, to help you stay mindful. Take advantage of daily tasks such as eating, walking, or bathing to practice. Make everyday tasks special by doing them mindfully and with a positive attitude. Studying the Bardo teachings regularly is another useful way to apply them. Take time to read and think about these teachings often, and talk about them with others when you can. This familiarity leaves lasting impressions that can be triggered during the dying process, assisting consciousness in navigating the different stages of the Bardos. Being generous and acting ethically in everyday life helps create good conditions for both dying and being reborn. Do kind things regularly, follow good principles, and build positive connections with others. These actions create good karma that helps protect and guide you during the Bardos, while also setting up positive conditions for your future life. These practices work best when you are sincere, consistent, and have the right guidance. Look for qualified teachers who can give you clear instructions that match your understanding and dedication. Having regular group practice sessions can help you stay motivated and make sure you're using these methods correctly. Lesson 16. Current knowledge. Ancient Tibetan wisdom and modern science have come together to explore interesting ideas about consciousness, death, and what might happen after we die. Recent studies in neuroscience, quantum physics, and consciousness have started to clarify some of the experiences mentioned in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, providing fresh insights into these ancient teachings. People from different cultures who have had near-death experiences often describe similar things to what is mentioned in the Bardos. Scientists have recorded stories of out-of-body experiences, meetings with light beings, life reviews, and the feeling of traveling through tunnels, all of which are similar to the traditional Tibetan descriptions of what happens during death. The connections here indicate that the ancient people who put together these teachings might have been talking about common human experiences that go beyond different cultures and times. Modern physics has changed how we see reality, and sometimes it matches ideas found in Buddhism. Quantum mechanics shows us a world where solid objects turn into possibilities and connected areas, where looking at something can change it, and where time isn't just a straight line. These findings reflect Buddhist teachings that emphasize the idea that reality does not have a fixed existence, and that everything is connected. Studies in neuroscience about meditation and different states of consciousness have shown how the brain changes during deep thinking practices. Research on people who meditate regularly shows clear changes in their brain structure and function, supporting the traditional beliefs about the positive effects of meditation. This research connects the personal experiences mentioned in the Bardos with what we know about consciousness in science. Studies across different cultures have shown interesting similarities between how Tibetan Buddhism describes the process of dying and how other spiritual traditions talk about the journey after death. Across Egyptian funerary texts and indigenous shamanic practices, we see common themes. Guiding beings are present, staying aware during transitions is important, and with the right preparation and understanding, liberation or positive rebirth is possible. Modern hospice and palliative care workers use these teachings to help dying patients and their families. The Tibetan view of death sees it as a natural change instead of a final stop, which helps lessen fear and worry. Focusing on staying aware and keeping a positive mindset during the dying process fits well with today's psychological methods for end-of-life care. New studies in consciousness research have created fresh ideas about how the mind works and how it connects to the brain. Some scientists suggest ideas about consciousness that open up the chance for existence after physical death, but in ways that differ from traditional religious views of the soul. These theories help explain how consciousness could continue during the Bardo states while still aligning with scientific ideas. Combining traditional Tibetan practices with modern therapy has led to new ways to address death, anxiety, grief, and psychological change. Mindfulness techniques that come from Buddhist practices have been supported by clinical research and are now commonly used in psychological treatment. This synthesis shows how old knowledge can be used effectively in today's world. As we look into the mysteries of consciousness and death using both science and reflection, the teachings of the Tibetan Book of the Dead are still very important. Instead of going against what we know today, these ancient ideas often add to and enhance our scientific understanding, providing helpful advice for dealing with the common human experiences of death and change. Bringing together these different ways of understanding enhances both traditions and offers helpful resources for people dealing with death or helping others during the dying process. Final lesson, last steps. The path through death and rebirth in Tibetan tradition leads to important instructions that connect old wisdom with everyday life. These teachings, shared by many wise masters over the years, provide helpful advice for getting ready for and understanding the afterlife. It's really important to get to know these teachings while you are still alive. Like an archer who practices their aim many times before a fight, a person should think about and imagine the stages of death and the Bardo states throughout their life. This builds connections in the brain and habits that will come up when they are needed the most. This practice includes meditating regularly on clear light, understanding the nature of the mind, and being aware during everyday activities. Seeing everything as a reflection of our thoughts is an important practice. When encountering peaceful or angry deities, bright visions in the bardos, or the karmic signs that lead to rebirth, stay aware that these are all expressions of consciousness. This recognition acts like a key that opens the door to freedom at any point in the journey. Being aware and present while sleeping is important because the state of sleep is similar to the process of dying. Practicing dream yoga and sleep meditation helps you stay aware during changes in your state of consciousness. This skill is very useful during the dying process and the following stages. Building devotion and a connection to enlightened beings offers important help along the journey. By praying regularly, visualizing, and dedicating merit, you can build a connection with enlightened masters who can provide guidance and protection during the bardos. This devotional connection provides a stable support during the often challenging times of transition. Ethical behavior is the basis for all practices. By staying disciplined and steering clear of harmful actions, a person sets up the right conditions for positive experiences in the bardos and good circumstances for future rebirth. Karma works clearly, and every action you take leads to future experiences. Phowa, or conscious dying, is a way to transfer consciousness when someone is about to die. This practice needs the right training and focus, but it can lead to a better rebirth or freedom. Even if you don't fully understand Phowa, being aware of its basic ideas can help direct your mind during the process of dying. Bring these teachings into our everyday lives. Instead of seeing them as just ideas or things to think about later, it's better to use them in our everyday lives now. Every moment gives you a chance to notice, be aware, and feel free. Every change in life, like waking up, going to sleep, or moving from one task to another, gives us an opportunity to understand how things change and don't last forever. It is very important to keep and share these teachings. Every practitioner is responsible for keeping the lineage alive by studying correctly, practicing, and sharing with qualified people. The teachings should stay true, while also fitting with modern understanding and requirements. This balance between keeping things as they are and making changes helps them stay useful and important. These final instructions are not just ideas, but practical tools for change. By practicing regularly and staying committed, a person can learn to handle both life and death with understanding and ability. The journey through the bardos is not something to be afraid of. Instead, it is a chance for freedom, supported by traditional wisdom and clear awareness.